Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming in on this wonderful day. I know it's hard to come inside when it's so nice outside. It is for me. And we're going to accomplish something today, I hope. And the first thing is to call the meeting to order. Second thing is ask for public comment, which we have Carlton Pittman, first person sign up. Those of you that are speaking, give us your name and address and have at 3 minutes.
Carlton Pittman, 144 Tarpon. 5, what you're going to spend our money on, 4 and 6. Please spend it wisely. It's your money too. Spend it wisely. 4 and 6. Categorically, what are 4 and 6? They're amenities. They are nice to have. Things that are not critical. If we never have another concert on this island, if we never have another pier, this island will be fine. Fund the fire station. Chief Todd was here 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. He said, if you build him a fire station, he will staff it. We don't even have to hire the firefighters. He will. Are you waiting for the county to figure out the fire fund versus fire fee stuff? Because the county's got a lot of problems. Please figure out how to fund the fire station. I can kind of give Keith and Sylvia a pass on this. Y'all hadn't been in office very long. Paige and Tom, come on. 2 years. It's barely moved forward except for all the work Tim did to figure out we can actually put one where it needs to be now and meet the chief's fire requirements. You want to put it on Greensboro where Will wants to? Great. I don't care. You need to get it done. We don't need to have another drowning because that water rescue boat has to come from Tri-Beach or lose 4 or 5 houses at one time. We're lucky when Hurricane Isaias came through in 2000 that the wind was blowing east to west that night and not north to south or south to north, because we might have lost 4 or 5 structures that night. I worked after Hunter died there in the rod and reel shop. I worked there for a while helping his wife and daughter out. And when those fire trucks come down the causeway with the sirens going, it makes you stop. When that water rescue boat comes down the causeway with the siren blaring, man, that'll stop you hard. I've had friends drown. Please, I had a little bit longer. I'll give you a minute or two back of my time. Please figure a way to do that. You want to spend millions on a pier? That's a nice to have. I fished at every pier from Sunset Beach to Topsail or Moorhead growing up as a kid. It's a wonderful thing, but those are nice to have. They're amenities. Find a way to fund the fire station, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Will Carter.
Will Carter, 108 Starfish, the North Carolina Underwriters Insurance Agency. It gives you extra money for a fortified roof. The reason they do that is because they realize that spending money up front is better than having to spend it in the back. In the last 6 years, Cherry Grove Pier, Ocean Isle Pier, all the piers, Ocean Crest Pier, Carolina Beach Pier have all been wiped out from a hurricane or had centers knocked out of them. Oak Island Pier, which we are framing this pier, we have a plan for. It was built in 55. Then it was rebuilt in 72. Then it was rebuilt in 92. And then it was rebuilt. It was torn down again, I think it done in 2019. And it's closed as of April the 20th. And so they can put another pylon in it. It's still not open right now. In that time, the last 25 years, Johnny Mercer's Pier has had 0 damage from anything. The Jeanette's Pier has been there for about 15, 20 years. 15, how many years, Keith? 15 years. But anyway, the only problem they've had is it knocked the blades off their little electric propellers when the wind got over 130 miles an hour. Jeanette's Pier is having to take off the decking because the only thing wrong with the pier is the wood. The wood has gotten rotten, so they're putting on synthetic wood. But if you're going to spend the money properly in the first place. Build a fortified structure instead of just another 50-some pier that was done with a slide rule. Things have advanced. We use DP50 windows on the beach instead of single pane windows like we did in 1955. We have a whole lot of updates. They're going to put synthetic wood on Jeanette's Pier, and so it won't rot like the other wood. They don't make wood like they used to. It used to be soaked in creosote and used arsenic for the arsenic to keep the bugs away. They don't do that anymore. The old piers were built with old growth timber. They don't do that anymore. All we're doing by even looking at a wood pier is just opening it up for maintenance, repairs. The structures don't stand under the winds and the heavy storms that we have. And all I'm asking, been asking for 10 years now, just to get a plan for a pier that is made of substantial and fortified. And let's see if we can get the money after that. But in 10 years, nobody's ever done that. We've gotten a wood pier because concrete was out of the question. We didn't even ask the question. So I'm asking all our elected representatives, our last two were elected because they wanted a pier. And let's get a plan for a really nice structure. Let's see what it costs and see if we can get the money. We can't get the money if we don't have a plan.
Thank you. Rick Smith?
Again, it really feels good to be on this side of the fence. You can't get in any trouble over here. And it's really nice to come in here and not feel like it's a toxic environment. Everybody seems to be happy, smiling faces. It's really, it's good to see the board in this condition. As far as the budget's concerned, I know y'all working on it hard. Y'all are smart people. I know you'll get to do the best thing for the island. We do need to keep up with the street paving. We always have. As far as the Block Q stage for the concerts, yay, let's go ahead and get it done and get it up so we can enjoy it this year, and all the people that come and enjoy this beautiful beach with their families can have a place to go and enjoy the music. As far as the pier is concerned, I thought it was 1958 because I was around when they were doing it. In 1962, I could actually ride the go-kart up and watch the building. So it was something that I believe with the proper planning, it can be fixed to where it can be used. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to walk on it now. There are people that have piers at their homes that are in worse condition than that pier. So, you can't eat the elephant in one bite. You can take it in small bites at a time, and you'll get it done. So I hope we can work towards in some direction to get it retaken care of. And I believe there's still hope for a public-private partnership to build us a building there that won't cost the town a cent. I never have seen the downside to that. And I hope y'all have a great day and a great weekend. The weather is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, we're on number 3 on the agenda. Mr. Benton?
All right. The town issued a RFP for street paving projects. There were 2 bids received. The lowest bid is from Holden Paving. Staff recommends including the option for all swordfish, which would be accomplished through a budget adjustment. That's it.
All right.
And other than that, it's just all in your
Any
thing.
commissioner have a question?
What was the option for all swordfish? Were we not doing it all to begin with?
Well, the original option was not all swordfish, but then they proposed that we would finish it out with a extra add-on.
Is that just swordfish or the herring?
Ms. Ferguson?
I can answer that question for you. So originally, if you don't include the option, then it would only be from Heron Drive to the end of the cul-de-sac and not from Heron Drive back out to the boulevard. So for economies of scale, the staff believes that while you're on swordfish, you're better to entertain the option and go ahead and do the entire swordfish drive.
How much is the budget amendment going to be if we do it?
The budget adjustment.
How much
Adjustment.
I'm sorry. How much should the adjustment be?
The delta that what he would need from the street line in the budget is $25,010.98. He's going to accomplish that from the district resource.
Any more questions, comments from the commission? Manager, you want?
No, I believe exactly economies of scale. It's almost like mobilization, let's go ahead and knock it out that we can because we have the availability to do that right now.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I glazed over, or I didn't hear what I was listening for. The amount that you need to move is 25,000?
Yes. Correct.
So where are you moving it from?
The proposal is to move 10,000 from M&R streets and 15,000 $15,010 for street drainage.
Okay. How much is this gonna save us if we don't have to mobilize twice?
I don't know that we know an answer for that off the top of your head because the rest of swordfish was further down the list on pre-payment conditions. So what it might save you is the public asking you a whole lot on why
Well, you do half a
their
street.
house had stopped at their house and didn't come all the way back out. And they're gonna track that back in and out, and it's gonna take several weeks for it to even begin to look decent. So it's
Yeah.
certainly the commissioner's option on whether you do that or not.
Well, and to be fair and transparent, is I would forward those calls to y'all.
Oh my God.
But no, I think just from an economic standpoint, it makes sense.
Yeah, we can go ahead and knock out that nice, there's a pretty bad little pothole right.
Mhm.
Yeah, right when you go in.
Everybody's seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been there for a while. We keep throwing dirt in there and it keeps getting beat out. It would go ahead and eliminate that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the bid to Holland Paving, including the option for all the swordfish.
Any second
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, Mr. Benton. Ms. Ferguson, number 4.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon. So we have consideration and possible action on a contract for the stage and dance floor today. The town issued an RFP for bids for the stage dance floor construction. 3 were received. Those were A.W. Babson, Pinnacle, and Jesse M. Myers. Staff is recommending A.W. Babson. Before you guys entertain making a motion, I will let you know that in the invitation to bid, which was in your packet, it did show that the bid bond was optional, and therefore none of the folks included that in their bid. That's going to be approximately $10,500, which would be added to the cost of this contract, and the attorney has been made aware of that. So I would suggest that you use language plus the bid bond for if anybody wants to entertain making a motion on this document.
Make a motion to approve contract with A.W. Babson Construction to construct the stage dance floor at Block Q and add the bid bond.
There's a second.
Second.
Further discussion, anyone?
Other than price, was there another reason why this contractor was selected?
This contractor has a very good work history with the town. They're currently working on Halsted. They've done several of our walkways. They did our very east end down at the far east end with the bathroom and the Hatteras ramp construction. So we have a good working relationship with them. I feel like that they will meet their timeline that they laid out. The next next lowest contract, I guess, to be considered would have been Pinnacle. And there were some cost plus options in there that made the town nervous when you read the details. So when you add cost plus and the contract's already higher, it makes you a little bit nervous on what you'd actually be getting because we can't sign on the cost plus.
Did I see where they have a construction manager assigned to this?
The
Babson.
construction, I don't know if they do, but the construction project manager for the town will be Tim.
Okay. I think I did see that they, is it AJ? Is that right? Okay, so AJ.
That's his son.
Okay, yeah, because it looked like he was assigned to be the project manager. And as far as the last projects they've done, have they always come in on time, or was there time restrictions on those?
Projects that didn't come in on time were not their fault. As for example, Halsted,
Yeah.
the state getting a CAMA permit. So we have never had a situation where their work didn't come in on time.
Will there be any stipulations in there as far as an amount that they have to pay if they don't complete the project on time?
That has not been added. Typically that causes the price of your contract to go up. And for something of this, and I mean, I know that is hard words to say because we have a bathroom that is, so should have been built like that. So I guess I'll leave it as something that is minimal as this construction with the relationship we've had in the past. I don't foresee any problems, but
And-
the attorney did look at the contract. So, I mean, If you guys wanna go back with that and have some sort of provision for that, I can't guarantee you that it won't make the cost go up.
We did put a provision in there for clarification that, we're gonna be meeting monthly with them. I mean, like every other week to have, you know, a meeting to see where are we? Is there anything that we need to do for our end? I mean, we put that in there as a stipulation to make sure that there was constant conversation, not that Tim doesn't already have that with them, but we just wanted to make sure we clarified that a little bit more.
And maybe this is something we could do for the attorney. Maybe we can't do it for this contract, but just as a note, just for the record. What if we put some of the stipulation in there where maybe not that they owe a fee, but that we have a right to supplement labor if they fall behind schedule or something? And again, that's just a throwing out there. Y'all can think about it. Cause that way, that's just something to think about. As another alternative to get what we're still trying to get, and being on time.
Yeah, that may be a discussion that we need to have that we can look into something
Yeah,
like that.
I'm
'Cause
not suggesting it for this.
Yeah, okay.
Any more questions?
So they propose to have this finished by the end of June.
Yeah, now, if you look at their proposed contract, it did show them starting about 5 days ago. So that's why we put June 30th to give them extra time for our meeting not happening until now. So just be on the up and up with that. We owe them some days because we're not meeting until today.
Any more questions, comments? Ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimous, Madam Clerk.
Actually, if you're good, I've got these slides too, so I can move it to the next one.
Just keep moving.
All right. We have our expenditures workshop today. And if we would go back through our budget calendar that we proposed, it was first goals and objectives. We're doing expenditures today. You have a combined revenues and expenditures workshop based on us needing to make an adjustment at the last meeting, so we found out about supervision conference. The budget message, public hearing, and then pass the budget at the regular meeting. Your goals that you establish to address block Q area, both planning and construction, to evaluate parking options, to further explore stormwater project construction, to explore future capital improvement spending, and to focus on employee retention. Common themes for objectives were block Q Jordan Boulevard, parking, stormwater, the pier property, and other facilities capital projects. That came into 3 priority areas: high quality infrastructure, community improvements, accessibility, and strategic capital project investment. So standouts from the general fund that may be more than what was in the past. So we're looking at focusing on things that might stand out in each fund. Board travel and training, there was an increase in your travel and training due to folks wanting to be more involved with conferences and workshops, but also the strategic plan that you talked about doing in-house versus going somewhere because it would be cheaper to bring it here. The stormwater project that we know that we're doing over the next couple of years. And then when you look at, there's 3 vehicles plus body camera system for the police department that's included in your expenditures that are before you, and 1 backhoe for public works. For water sewer, there's 1 vehicle, and then a decision on biosolids. These slides went out at the beginning of the week. Since that time, the staff worked diligently to have a discussion with the county, and we actually believe we have something to make that decision a lot easier for you guys. You may still be walking around in a time or 2, but we feel pretty confident about where we got to, so we'll come back to that as you have any questions. For B part, some of the things that were the focus, and this did go before the rec board for them to provide feedback, was complete the block Q master plan, because we know that'll fall over budget years. Complete the stage for anything that would fall in the next fiscal year. If it just says he's going to finish by June 30, so that may not be the case, but when this went out, that was the plan. Upgrade the park course, 2 to 3 of those stations could use some improvements because we had to take equipment out. funding for Block Q projects as available when the plan is complete. So when your master plan is complete, if there's funding that can be put towards that, the rec board is in favor of that. Annual maintenance activities for the beach, which we always do, and then funding to the beach and inlet capital reserve. The canal dredging pages were not included in your packet because that stays shovel ready. We have an anticipated dredge event, but we are working through some numbers that came back as far as dredge spoil disposal with new policy with the Corps. And the working group with those is trying to decide, as of the last information we had, they wanted assessments to stay the same, but we need to continue to work through a few meetings and get you some solid pages for when we come back. So that takes us to our last page, which would be next steps is your next workshop. Typically what we do is go by fund through the budget from this point on. So management and staff will be happy to take questions as you guys have found them as you review your pack.
Manager, you got anything to add to that?
No, sir, I was gonna take the final, item on the agenda, but, you know, we've been talking about this and we've been working with all the staff, trying to come up, because it's new for a few different ones of us, you know, for the process that we have in place. And I think it's new for a couple of y'all, the way we're doing it, which is the way that I've always used to doing it, of learning what the expenditures are first. And so the staff has been very diligent in how we've developed this so far. And we know that there's some final things that may not be even in some of these items that we have given to you. So, that's sort of where we are. Does anybody have any questions? I think I know one that may have some questions. Oh, well, I'm sorry. That's okay.
Wasn't me,
Yeah,
was
you
it?
go.
Surprised you. Look out. So Public Works, Streets, Building, Grounds, the elephant is this 2.4 million. Wouldn't it be better to set that up as a separate project fund, because it's gonna run over years and it's more transparent to just break it out? I think the recommendation was even to have have a new utility. It just seems putting it in the budget, especially if it's multi-years, we're just gonna end up with a lot of, it's gonna get, you know, it's huge. It's a lot to swallow. I know we had a separate budget for the sewer lift stations and beach nourishment projects and other ones, especially if there's a grant, I think it might be required to be separate.
Go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion, Tom? And if you don't want to, it's fine with me. We'll figure it out. Can we go, like from top to bottom? So we're not jumping all the way down. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Manager and Ms. Christie?
Okay.
Basically,
Governing.
general
So-
funds.
Okay. General fund.
Is that this first page, second page?
No, government.
Yeah.
It's 50,
The general fund goes through.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And I apologize, Tom. Is that in that section?
Nope,
Okay.
in the last section.
Okay.
What page are you?
52.
If we went line by line, not line by line. I do not want to go line by line.
Yeah.
I'm good for the manager's heart medicine.
Okay.
Because every time I say something, he has to take his medicine. So it is 125 if you're due, just by the chance. Couple things that I notated, obviously increase in spending in travel, which is partly my fault, I think. And I'll take some responsibility for it anyway, because that does include the strategic plan. And what that money is designed to do is to actually save us money overall. is to put us all in a room and figure out, hey, where are we gonna go, instead of us just haphazardly picking this and cherry picking stuff, but does it fit into our overall, process? Like the fire station, you know, at what point do we need to do that? The second water tower, when do we wanna do that? And kind of put all that into a complete strategic plan, so we're just not willy-nilly over the next 3 or 4 years. So I think that money will save us. It is a 90% increase. It goes from 2,000 to 20,000, but I think that's $18,000 if we spend it all, that it'll be well spent. The design is to reduce the cost, and if it doesn't, then obviously next year we won't opine for that much, again. Other than that, I see modest increase in salaries. It looks like we fall somewhere below what the League of Municipalities. I think based on my research, we're a little bit above the national average for 26, but not by much. And for the League of Municipalities, I think we fall right in their little sweet spot of the twos. I might have my numbers mixed. It's either 20% or 80% that's not doing any increases at all. Like they're not considering any increases. But for the ones that are, we fall just below them. And then obviously when you incorporate all that together, we fall right in range. So I think all of the salary increases, is that cost of living and merit? Is that, okay. So, on the police salaries, I don't have anything in the top, down to general funds, administrative, all of that seems to be, contracted services, under administrative expenses. We went from 20,000 to 26,000, but then we dropped some on our printing. Didn't we change the way you're doing that?
Yeah, we actually combined two of the line items to make it a little
That's what I
cleaner on
thought.
our side.
Okay. So it's not, we just kind of moved what item it's under.
Mhm.
Got you.
Correct.
I think overall in those sections, the increase is only like 1.1% increase in spending, even including the additional travel and all that kind of stuff. It only affected the budget 1%. The next area I would have is police, but if there's anything in the administrative or anything like that, then. Okay. So in the police, the biggest things I noticed was our overtime drops pretty significantly, like 25%. Is that because we've increased the staff position okay. Because basically if you take the salaries, overtime and professional services and you combine all those from last year, it equals what you're looking at this year. So it's kind of a net wash. So that's kind of what I thought was happening. And then the other question I have is dues and subscriptions, which is a new category. What is that for?
Combined some communications and, what was the other one?
New software.
Yeah,
That's right,
software.
yeah,
Software.
software.
Okay. So out of that, the net is really only about $11,000 difference.
Yes,
Okay.
and I believe some of that was even funded from the line we were doing away with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to get that dues and subscriptions, we're trying to get in line with the other funds.
Okay.
And that's really what most of communications was already, so we're trying to make it more transparent.
But it's not for equipment or anything like that.
No.
It's just, okay.
It's recurring software fee, the record system and all that
The cloud.
Yeah.
cloud service.
Well, and even with purchasing the new cars, basically what I can tell, how many vehicles did y'all say that was?
3
3 new vehicles? You get 3 vehicles for 230,000?
outfitted.
Outfitted.
Yeah.
But you're getting 3?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think that's a good deal. Even with that, you're still only raising your total expenditures by less than 15%. So, I mean, you're getting 3 vehicles and Does that account any kind of core if you salvage one of them off or anything, like through gov deals or something? Or is that separate?
No, what, that would go into the revenues, so that,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that any of that anticipated this year?
When
or
we
next
get,
year?
when we get to the revenues, then we will be anticipating that.
I don't have any other questions for police. Public Works?
Action,
Inspections.
inspections.
Inspections is next.
Inspections. Inspections didn't have one line item that went down. But even still, you only raised by 3%. I don't see anything out of the ordinary there. Actually, the salaries are not at the same rate as some of the other departments, so I think, I mean, the inspection department, I don't see anything there.
You're gonna see throughout all the line items that's proposed for a COLA and a merit equally throughout all the departments.
It just hit, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, and again, if that volume is different, I guess the percentage would hit different too.
Well, the incentive for the,
Oh, okay,
depending on what is anticipated for them.
Okay. all right. I heard you. Set up by salaries, I understand.
No, but we propose it the same for the staff. It's
Right.
I
an
got
up to pool for merit, and it's the same for COLA for each department.
Did
That's all,
Did it sound like I was telling the administrative staff was getting a bigger raise than the other departments?
maybe a little.
Oh, okay. That's not what I meant to say. Again, I'm a licensed plumber, so don't take it too much. If Tom starts asking that question, then you might want to put some thought behind it. Public Works. Looks like the biggest increase, or at least half the increase, is the equipment. For that, that's the big part. Obviously, the biggest line item is the street drainage, the stormwater. And I think I wanted to ask this question, and I know I crossed the taboo boundary of revenues, but are we expecting grants for this?
So the agreement with the Army Corps through that program is up to 75%. So they give you back 75% if you cross all your T's and dot all your I's.
Is it all in done, all or nothing, or we get like 60% if we meet most of the goals? Is it kind of measured like that? Or?
It's monthly invoices. So right now we're just sending reports to say we've gotten started, and then when we get invoices, we'll be sending invoices in.
And so you have 2.4 for that. Is that all of that, or is there any projects outside of that?
Some of it fell into this fiscal year for your engineering that you expect to be accomplished. The rest of it is the engineering that wouldn't be accomplished this year, and then what our engineer thinks construction wise we will accomplish, and then a little bit of it will fall into your next fiscal year. But the total on that project, not counting your engineering, was 2.9, and you get the 2.2 back.
Okay. Out of that 2.2, how much do you think is in the 2.4 here?
Say that one.
The budget for street drainage projects is 2.4 million. Am I right?
Yes.
Out of that, how much is that what we think will be 70% reimbursable? If you don't have the answer to that right now, that's
Yeah, I think that, I don't remember the exact number on the engineering contract, but I want to think it was either 160 or 180 that would be accomplished, he thought, before June 30th, and then it was basically half of the contract. So then it's like 160 or 180, and the rest of that's totally construction. Does that answer your question? There's only about $100,000 of that is engineering, and the rest of it's construction costs.
how much construction do you think of that? What I'm trying to figure out is how much we're gonna get 70% reimbursable on 1 million or 1.5 million?
It'd be the, of all the whole thing,
75% of
whatever
what
the
we
project,
submit.
whatever we spend, yeah.
So out of that 2.4 million that we're looking to spend, what do you think is gonna be reimbursed
75%
Yeah,
of
75.
2.4 million.
for
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, either the street drainage projects, it's all in that grant. Okay, that's all I want to find out.
It's the two projects that were
Yeah.
approved.
Stormwater plan.
Do you have any
Yes.
projects outside of that?
No,
planned?
No.
Okay, so, all right, that's what I was gonna find out. So that whole part should be 70% reimbursed, okay. Which that would bring your percentage, because right
And-
now you're at 72% spending more, but, so, but
And
you
that
bring
will
that back
be
down.
realized in the revenues as well of that, up to that amount, just to give you.
Staying out your revenue bucket. Let's see.
Why on the street paving projects, why are you proposing less for next year than what was budgeted this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we usually just go through it, is whatever the CIP has, and that's the reason those numbers
Well, some of the
fluctuate.
street, because of some of the streets are shorter than like, you
Yeah.
guys,
Mhm.
guys buying the
That- yeah.
television one.
Yeah,
And you also have two streets coming off of the Herring. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, here, what's this one? Thank you.
Sanitation?
Did Tom have a question about?
Well, I mean, I think it would be cleaner, more transparent to carve out the storm projects and treat them as a separate account versus have them flush through this, because we've already talked about the complexity of all this. It's just gonna be over multiple years. It's a big amount. I think it warrants standing alone as a project budget versus part of the public works budget. It's just an accounting thing to separate them out, clean them up, so you can, they're not buried in, all these transactions won't be buried in with other public works stuff.
Let me ask the question this way. Is that something we should discuss now? Is that more of a procedural issue, or just deal with budget today and then bring that up at another meeting as far as how we structure that?
Well, I'd like to talk with Daniel to get what would be the benefits of being able to separate that out, because I have, it's been both ways. I've had project lines, and then I've also had them when they have been in the budget itself, in the whole budget. So
It's kind of like I said, it's like the lift station. The lift station started out in Fund 30, like in the water and sewer fund, and then because of the grant requirements, we split it out into its own fund. But
I mean, the recommendation from before was that this be set up as a separate utility, which I assume we're not following that recommendation, but it just,
what recommendation?
the one that's, the report that came up with the 8 projects, it's in, was it Green that did that one? The stormwater report. It listed all of the stormwater projects and the dollars. Buried in there is a recommendation to set up a separate utility.
I think
Can-
that was if we were going to do that.
yeah,
go that
it was
route.
at
We
the
didn't
back of the
choose to go
plan,
that
if
route, I
the
don't think.
commissioners wanted to enact a utility, it laid out a breakdown of what you would need to charge. The commissioners didn't act on setting up the utility yet.
since on the next, we will be discussing revenues and expenditures again, we'll
Well,
come
yeah,
back
it's
to
gonna be
that.
a huge revenue number as well.
Right, so
So it
let,
just,
we,
it dwarfs everything else
Yeah.
in this account because it's so big.
I think I see Tom's point, and I think it goes to a wholesale of what we're looking at. If we want to treat this as a long-term, we're always going to have stormwater expenditures, and likely if we have them, at least for the next 10 years, 20 years, they're going to be significant. And if we have a separate stormwater fee, then I could see why, because you have an income and an outcome consistently, kind of like water and sewer. But if it's just going to be, this is going to be the only year we do it, or maybe say for the next couple of years, then I'm not so sure we want to do that. But I see his point.
Yeah, I think I'm gathering what you're saying now. Yeah, if it was set up as a utility, it would have to be in a special revenue fund, just like the water fund.
Do we currently
Well,
charge a stormwater fee?
I'm not recommending a separate utility. I mean, I agree that we should, that's got a lot of overhead. But to set it up as a separate project because it's so big
Like
and
a-
because it spreads over multiple years, to me,
A
a much
capital
cleaner
project,
way to
right.
manage. Because it, I mean, from 883,000 to 3.3 million, I mean, it just distorts all of the comparisons with prior budgets or future budgets. And it's gonna fall over multiple years, so you're gonna end up with revenues falling different, a lot of things are gonna fall up on balance. It just seems cleaner to take that out of the budget and treat it separately, and then the budget's much more similar to what's been in the past.
Again, I have done it both ways before, so we'll come back to you,
Okay.
at the next meeting. We'll get this, we'll discuss it more about doing that.
I think my question still is the same. Should we do it at budget meetings, or is this more of a structural thing that we need to look at separately, like in our regular meeting?
No, I think it would be more appropriate here, I mean, at the budget discussions.
Because the
Yeah.
budget will go down from
Yeah.
3 million to take out 600,000. So it dramatically impacts this budget if we take that out of it, take it out of this budget.
Well,
But
It'll
it-
go in a
it'll still-
separate place, but
yeah,
it won't
yeah,
be
it'll
under
still-
public works. all
Right,
the
yeah,
other
it'll
public
be
works.
still, yeah.
It's a different beast in my mind, and it's a project.
How long do we expect to be working on major stormwater improvements?
Well,
Right.
if we set it up as a capital project fund, it would just be for these two projects. Whenever these two projects were done,
Mhm.
the fund would be done.
Yeah,
And if we set up the other way, then this would just become part of a long range that they would be looking at 10 years from now.
Well, the other way is how it's currently set up, and it's just a line item. So like that line item would go away whenever.
Yes, ma'am.
I think to what I think I hear you asking, there were 6 projects identified in the original stormwater report, and we're taking down 2 of those. So if whatever board is seated at the time we finish those wants to take on additional projects, there are continued projects that you could pick up out of the plan. It would just be what the board chooses to do within that budget year, because each budget stands alone. So there are other projects that have been identified out there, so you could potentially have projects for the next till you get all of those accomplished.
And I think that's maybe, Tom, the way we look at that is how likely are future boards to take this up, because we may not be here. So if we think it is, then we could set something up for long term. Otherwise, I just say manage it by each project, but I see what you're saying.
I'm talking about just setting it up for this the 2.4 million.
Oh, you
period.
just
And-
want to do it for this time
Yeah,
only?
to carve it out and deal with it separately. Transparency, ability to understand it. It doesn't,
Can we,
impact these numbers the way it impacts them now.
can we just do a subset of report? If we decide not to move anything around, can we just do a
Let-
subset?
we'll come back,
Yeah,
with you at the next one about taking it out, and what the process would be to do that.
Anything else that Public Works? I'm sorry, Mayor.
I'm just listening.
He kept looking at me and asking me to go on, so.
Are we ready to move on?
Invitation.
Not saying.
Who has the floor? Who wants? Manager, you?
Okay, that was Public Works, sanitation. Anybody? No issues?
Don't look like water, ain't much there.
Mm-hmm. Water. I'm getting ready to expedite, so I'm
That's what. Yeah.
no water?
Yeah,
I don't see much difference there.
You
Op-
good.
operations?
Yeah, staff is bringing this to us, so carry on.
Okay. No operations?
One question. Your pump you just replaced, do you have another one coming?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're good. All right.
You know about it.
Do you need another one? Oh. Well, I know, is that the, O&M vacuum stations? Is that under that number? Yes. I noticed it went down 15,000. The reason I'm asking.
Yeah, the only reason why it went down is because it went to air conditioning at full all there, and we're gonna get that in this year.
Okay.
Back to you, Mr. Manager.
Oh, yes, sir. All right, B part. Okay, going to the first page.
I have questions from B part.
Okay.
And it follows along with the grant. On the beautification club, there's obviously a big there. Is there a donation coming for that?
$1,000 of that is a donation. The rest of it is for the work that they do in our gardens, so town public spaces. So
Okay.
they have projects outlined in the description there that they plan to work on. And the increase is significant over what it was last year, but prior to that, they normally range in the $12,000 to $13,000. They just had club money that they were using last year.
I see.
All
Yeah,
right.
they're actually under. They're 2,000 under what they would normally spend each year. You're right. I went back and looked.
Next page. Oh,
Debris removal went down pretty significant.
That's because some of our requirements for tilling and raking we're past the number of years that we have to do that.
And
okay. That's it.
Rothschild Davis Park.
Y'all bought playground equipment this year, so it's coming back down next year.
One thing that I keep hearing a lot, and I know, and being in Parks and Rec meetings, I've heard this, that the water usage is dictated by the budget. Is there a way for us to increase hours? Is that a one-to-one correlation, or what is that? What's your thoughts?
So, well, first of all, I don't say that we set our hours on the water, but our water is sometimes, if we're under restrictions, if there's like a drought and the county puts us under restrictions, then that's one of the first
Yes,
things
sir,
we're
yeah.
taking down, because that
Right.
water just flows continuously.
Right.
And it's on a 3-minute cycle, but there's kids that stand there, and every time it goes off, somebody else presses the button. So, I think it more is correlated to right now the times of day. Last year we went and moved it from 10 to 8, so we're actually starting it earlier because the Parks and Rec Board had heard that there were grandparents that wanted to get out before the heat of the day with their grandkids. And then we're still running it to the same time in the evening. So much outside of that, it's getting, I mean, it's not dark in the summer, but it's getting late anyway. So we pretty much run it all day, and there is a significant cost to that. So I think we're pretty much at our sweet spot right now.
Okay, so if we added more, you don't feel like that we could add any more dollars to that to open it more time? You kind of already addressed that.
I think
Okay.
the complaints you're talking about was when there was a county-wide water restriction and was shut down, and people were complaining that they came over here and the water park, why is it shut down?
Mhm.
And it's because the county, which we're probably getting ready to have another one.
Y'all put a notice up too when that happens, right? Yeah.
People don't read signs.
They don't read. They read social media, but they don't read the signs that are hanging on the equipment.
Okay. Good. Next page. Nothing. No word.
I apologize. You may have skipped over something. I would like to see an increase in Holden Beach promotion. I'd like to see that go from 37.5 to 50,000.
It's on page 67.
67, Holden Beach.
And I apologize, I don't have page numbers on mine, or I have to tell you what page.
67. On the side.
Oh, is that what that little dot was? Oh, yeah, you're right. I thought it was a whole thing. You're right, it is that. I still don't know what page it's on.
67.
What's your rationale for that?
I want to see more promotion for people to come to Holden Beach. If we're an amenity destination, if we're a Holden Beach family destination, I want to get the word out that that's what we are. The occupancy rates in the in the units that we have are nowhere near 100%. Even though I know everybody's armchair quarterback is that we're full, we're not. And the people that feel that the most are property owners and rental agencies. And if we're going to be a family destination, I think as a town, it would behoove us, because I think if you invest the dollars there, you're going to see the number come back in the occupancy revenue. And so now, if it doesn't come back, I'll be the first one to say let's don't spend it again. But I think if you can increase that slightly and do some strategic advertisements, I think that'll bring more families to our beach. And if nothing else, no, that's probably a negative way to say that. Over the last few years, we've received some negative press, put it that way, and so this might offset that if we come out with a stronger promotion of Holden Beach. That's my thoughts for doing that.
You said how much?
Additional 12.5.
What is this? I think I've heard you talk about this before, what it's actually spent on. I think I remember you saying that some of it goes to the Chamber of Commerce. Is that right? Or no?
Yeah, we do different forms of advertising, and then it's like our T-shirts, our giveaways that have Holden Beach as promotional material, what we pass out on the beach to our visitors as far as what the beach rangers pass out. And then it also includes the snowflakes that we buy each year. So anything that we're doing to promote Holden Beach, including some of the major events we do to bring people here, is what comes out of that line.
So we don't like advertise in publications or anything?
Yeah, we've done
do?
like billboards before.
Okay.
Do we advertise any travel magazines or travel websites or anything? Do that? Could you advertise more if you had more dollars to put towards it?
Sure.
I mean, I just don't want to. If you're at a sweet spot and it's not necessary, but if there's some opportunities you could take advantage of, if you had some at your disposal, then I would be in support of that.
Well, here's what I will tell you if it helps the commissioners to go along with you at the moment. The budget that I submitted to Daniel, I went ahead and submitted my revenues as well, and you have money available. So in other words, you have more revenue showing coming in, and the budget was not balanced when I submitted it. Now, the salaries did have to still be entered in group insurance because all of that goes through HR and finance. But you should be okay if the board wants to do that.
I think it'd be money well spent.
Would you add it as an aside and wait till we see the revenues?
I don't think we're not approving this today anyway, right? We should discuss it. Yeah. That's the attitude I'm taking, is not that we're voting on this today.
Right.
Cause we've got, normally you approve it
Yeah.
when you
So we
approve
are
the,
Well, if you make a recommendation like that, then you kind of reach a consensus, because we'd like to change the budget worksheets as we go along instead of waiting until the
Yeah.
very end and
Okay.
come back and try to capture what you said 3 budget workshops ago.
how much?
So if you're definitely getting rid of something, we need to know that today as we move along in preparation for budget worksheets. And if you're saying you want to make a change today, we need to know that.
Okay.
But you're saying there's money in there.
Yeah,
We don't necessarily have to.
it's not, there's money available to put towards that. That 12.5 is not gonna make a difference.
I mean, before you say you were gonna raise this 12,500 for advertisement, I think you're gonna have to have a more concise plan of what you're talking about. I mean, cause like, you're talking about putting an ad in the magazine or newspaper. People aren't really reading those anymore.
It's not. I'm not gonna tell them how to spend it. I'm just gonna say, hey, here's some more dollars, and you do what you do. And if she wants to put it on XYZ Travel Magazine because it shows that people come here from there, and if she advertises another $1,000 and we get 10 more families, that's up to her. That's not our decision to make. I don't think. I don't want to get in the advertisement business. I'm just saying, I think I think we can put some more dollars there, and I think we'll see some fruit on the back end.
Do you think we have enough in the ADA projects based on that assessment? That look like what we need to do this first year? I know there was a lot of stuff on there.
There was a lot of stuff on there. I mean, once you guys see revenues and expenditures side by side, I think you'll have a little better indication where you can go back and say you want to spend some more
That's
money.
what I'm having trouble with.
But I do think that you could probably still end up bumping up ADA if you want to. Tim, as the ADA coordinator, and Brian and I have had a few discussions about things that we may be able to take down on what was a lot this fiscal year versus stuff that will definitely have to be incorporated in the next fiscal year. But I mean, 50,000 was the starting point. There's some assumptions, honestly, with B part that I don't want to make for the commissioners. You guys are going to discuss the pier property next, and until I know what you're doing, I really can't finish filling in the blanks for expenditures on my end.
Right.
One request that I have for staff is to look at the guidelines whenever this occupancy tax was first put in place. There were some guidelines offered to be followed, and I'd like to, I know it can't be a exact number accounting wise down to the penny and each type thing, but I would like some kind of comparison to see if we are anywhere near what the intent was whenever the occupancy tax was put in place.
We do that every year.
Yeah, and I'd like to see it, yeah.
Back on the Rothschild Park, what the 75,000? What improvements are you looking to do there next year?
The big thing there is if we don't get the dock dredging done, because we were trying to pair that with another dredge happening in the area. So if Berry was happening, then we could get a dredge here. If we're not able to get it accomplished, then we would try to pair it with our canal dredging or another dredge event. So there's about 10,000 in there as the estimate for dredging, and the rest is just, I mean, every time a pickleball net breaks and it's the whole frame, it's $600.
Okay.
$500. Extra net's $100.
So no major capital project, just maintenance and, okay.
And cleaning the bathrooms, just that part.
Yeah, the bathrooms, that any cleaning for the bathrooms is site specific, just like it is at 441.
Okay. Where the two new bathrooms we have, relatively new, one, the third one coming up, where do they fall in?
Public restrooms. And your porta johns on the island do as well. And your number didn't go up for public restrooms because I know where your wheels, I can see them turning, and you're going, we're adding a restroom, but the number didn't go up. But the contract for cleaning came in lower than the previous contract.
Okay.
And the new ones were accounted for in that, so.
How old is that east end restroom?
The last Easter, didn't it?
So right out of the year. They're rough on 'em.
Yes.
Yeah, I went in there yesterday. They're rough.
Should we mention, there's a lot that our staff has to deal with, and there was something just this morning that pretty much the way I look at it is uncalled for. Changing tables are used to change babies. They are not used to defecate on. And it was not a baby that had climbed on that. And I tried to.
Located 3 feet from the toilet?
Yeah, yeah. And
Sure.
yeah. And you know, I want to reiterate something that I did at a meeting this weekend, that, you know, staff is here. We are here for public service. We're not public servants. And I like that clarification because I think it is very important because staff is here to try to meet every need of property owners, residents, and visitors. But some things are pretty much uncalled for. And so I figured it was appropriate. You mentioned restrooms. And if you can imagine that it happens, it happens. And it's unacceptable. So, I mean, if anybody sees anything, I will say this for my position. If it is found that something like that happens, they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of my powers. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So,
Is there I'm gonna, if I could, I'd like to combine that with more trash cans and, some reports that trash cans are not emptied on a regular basis. Is there anything that we can do as a town either to add more to that or document that there's a bench level when we're meeting it and because when someone comes up and says, hey, trash cans are never empty, like, hey, I was over there 3 times yesterday, they all looked empty to me. Do we have a standardized process for that?
Staff empties those, so the recreation technician took that off of Public Works to help them out because they were so taxed, and he empties those throughout the off season. And then the contractors empty them for the main season. So I would say that if there is trash cans that they are finding that are full, that they should report them to the town so that we can follow up. But I know that Mr. Fullwood has reported that he always takes pictures of his work when he's done. So
How often do they empty those?
Sean does 3 times a week at least in the off season. Yeah.
Is it just once a day? Usually morning or evening? Okay. And through the season, the Memorial to Labor Day, is that the season for that? It's once a day, 7 days a week, and that's all contracted. Okay. Does Sean check those? I mean, like during the season, like because he's out and about. I mean, so the backup for the contractor is Sean, which is one department, and then Public Works, because you guys are all over everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, because technically that wasn't in his job description, but
Yeah.
they were short-staffed and they have things that they're working on water sewer street wise, so he's helped them out.
I hate to throw a bunch of resources after a nuisance, but the reality is, if we're going to have more visitors, let's say our advertising campaign kicks off, if we could figure out how to monitor that so that they're regularly maintained. So, and then if we know we have to empty them twice, then we redo the contract next year. We can go ahead and say, hey, we need it twice a day, not just once.
You can buy a lot of trash cans for $12,000.
I'll make it as plain as possible. How much money you want to give me to buy more people? And, and it's still, I hate to say it, it will not be enough. Now, I'm not saying that we can't do more, but our guys they're just as taxed right now as they can be.
Well, no, and this is the time to talk about it.
Yeah.
So what would it?
Well, it goes back to public service. You get complaints about, oh, your bathrooms are nasty. Well, if somebody goes, you can go clean it all day. But if somebody goes and defecates on a changing station, that's just nasty people.
I understand that.
Just like if you have 20 trash cans out there and they're all full, somebody's going to take a can and throw it on top of a full trash can. It's going to fall off. It's going to blow down the dunes. I have trash bags in my beach bag, and July 4th, I took 4 bags of trash in my house. So it's just common sense sometimes. Just clean up after yourself. Don't be a human being and don't be nasty. And if the trash can's full, take your trash with you. You brought it to the beach. Take it back with you.
Well, they're not doing that, or we wouldn't be having the discussion. So the question is, on certain days, should we add a second trash pickup? I guess maybe that's the question. Not every day, but
You're also gonna have to take into account the amount of people that's on that beach and somebody's gonna have to physically drive.
You can't drive through there and
No, that's why he
4
goes
o'clock
the
in-
first thing of the morning. I mean, because even then, sometimes it gets packed. If you try to, like, you think about it, July, August,
Yeah, right.
you're not driving on that beach. Hardly. I mean,
no. They put the
it's more
tents
of a
out at 6
liability than anything. I think the better thing would be maybe just add a couple more trash cans to these problem areas. But even at that, 2 beach chairs go in there. Their beach chairs tear. They throw the beach
Mhm.
chair
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
I know.
taking it back where it came from. They throw it right in the trash can.
or the
It's full. They have a tent go down. They throw it right in the trash can.
broken umbrellas.
And it's full.
I get it. That's why we're talking about it, because
Mhm.
it is a problem.
Yeah.
But if we had somebody that could say, hey, we repeatedly have, like beach rangers, they're driving up and down, right?
Mhm.
So if they come back and not just call it in, but maybe keep track of that. And if we're consistently having that issue at this one location, then we can address that. That's just my thought process.
I need to intervene here.
Yes, sir.
We need to stay on target on the subject. If we want to get off on this kind of discussion, we need to do it at the proper time. We've got people here specifically for this agenda. And to spend 15 minutes or so on trash cans or this and that and other, that's a wonderful thing, but it's not for a budget. I mean, you know, if you want to talk about the money for the thing, that's great. And figure out how to solve it, that's great. But procedurally, we're out of order.
Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
let's try to keep the train on the tracks. if we could. Mr. Manager, you've got the floor.
Yes, sir. Any other questions right now? Okay. I think we're,
Is that the end of it?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're,
Ms. Ferguson, you got anything you want to add?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything any commission wants to, before we leave this
or
topic?
need us to look into. If you do, or if you think of something, give us a call.
Just so we have for our record, what was the recommendation for the merit increase? You said you factored that in. What was it up to what?
3%, for merit, 2.5,
2.5. And what was the COLA?
3.
3. Okay, thank you.
That's right.
Are we ready to go to the next subject? I believe we have some guests here about the next subject. Mr. Manager, you want to
Yes, sir. I got a
take
couple
it,
of things.
run with it?
I think since the Holden Beach Pier property was purchased 4 years ago, there have been a number of recommendations, plans, and changes for what should be done. This includes repairing or rebuilding. I did forget to put one in there because there's another group that may not want a pier at all. So there's the sky's the limit. The Board of Commissioners recommended this be discussed during this meeting, our engineer HDR, and I have Will and Bill are here from HDR to help navigate some of the discussion of how you would like to move forward. Because I got 5 people up here right now, and there are 5 different feelings on the pier property. Currently, we do have the beach parking, we got campsites, restrooms, and an access to the beach strand for emergency and town vehicles. And we do have the pier itself. So, I think that we can look to the past, learn a little bit, but I think more with where we are now to figure out where we need to go for the future, because there have been all these different plans, and we've talked to different ones, and you've got different feelings on referendums, and some people think that the referendum, and I'll say this, and again, I'm not taking a side, but I will say this: You know, if the school bond referendum fails, that doesn't mean people don't want good schools. So, I mean, it's almost the same thing. But some of the people who vote against the bond referendum are against the school. So really, it is I just want it to be an open conversation with you. So I'm going to ask them to come up and sort of give a synopsis of how we got here with them and some opportunities to go ahead. If you want to do nothing but, if you don't want a pier, if you want to repair the pier, or if you want to rebuild a brand new. And again, even members who have come to talk here, individuals, have said pretty much all three of those options. So there's a hard discussion to come. So if you guys want to come up and
Mr. Mayor, board, staff, appreciate the opportunity as always. As mentioned, I think the best way to start out is just kind of recap how we got here. So back in, and let me also say too, when we finish the recap, we're gonna open the floor to Q&A. Please ask any question that y'all want to get into. Nothing's off limits. We're here to answer these questions, so please feel free. Anything that's on y'all's mind, just go ahead and we'll go through it. So back in February of last year, Holden Beach contracted HDR to perform a repair and reconstruction alternatives assessment. That would include a 30% design, so preliminary design for each alternative, a cost estimate for each alternative, and then also a life cycle analysis going out 30 years for each alternative. We then in March did our initial structural investigation. This was done by our structural discipline lead and myself. We went out there, did a full level 1 inspection of the pier, and from that inspection, we determined that a repair option would not be cost effective. Not that it's not possible, but it's not going to be cost effective. Following that determination, we reached back out to town and made that determination, that recommendation to go ahead and terminate further repair considerations just to save some money on that specific order of task work. Because off the bat, you'd have to go straight into that underwater inspection, which I believe is a $25,000 fee. So even before results of that inspection, that's a pretty large cost incurrence there for that. So following the recommendation, the town did vote to approve of terminating the repair option. We only continued forward with the reconstruction, and that's where we delivered the 30% plans, the life cycle analysis, and the cost estimate. On that cost estimate, it was asked midway through the project to, instead of just doing a standard cost estimate, of what we thought the cost would be, to escalate it to an NTE, or a not to exceed cost estimate, which is the upper bound, literally as it said, not to exceed value to be used in that bond, just to make sure that the bond's amount would cover the full construction cost. And that was a very conservative number that was provided for that NTE. Of course, the bond referendum happened, and here we are. So that is a base synopsis of where we were last year leading up to the events to get us here today.
So just to be clear, the initial assessment was done. We did have a lot of unknowns. We did not have the underwater testing. We did not have any validation of the materials that were actually used in the most recent repair. As far as specifically what would, and could we validate that, is doing so. There's a lot of difference between various woods and how long they're going to last out there in that environment. The not to exceed estimate was done. Typically, you're going to do a not to exceed estimate a little bit further down the road when you actually have gotten a better design that you can actually tie your numbers to. So we were making some speculations basically on a 35 or a 30, roughly a 30% design to a final design cost. So there's going to be some roughness in that number, or some inaccuracies just built in. And to cover a good bit of this into, because there's a lot of unknowns, we still have a lot of unknowns. Because we did not get very far into the actual design for construction. You had to incorporate a contingency, which would be typical for any significant construction project that far out.
And with that, we're happy to open the floor. Anything you want to ask?
Commissioners, anybody got any questions? Tom?
Yeah, a lot's changed since those original estimates, and I'm not gonna ask you to predict, but what are your thoughts of cost, with tariffs and Canadian wood and everything else? How much do you see that this is changing compared to what you came up with the first time? I don't know that we can speculate on that accurately. I don't want to sit up here and shoot from the hip, so I'd be ill-advised to tell you something that I couldn't back up. I don't have the, I can't talk to the Canadian lumber prices. Understood. I assume the price has not gone down.
Absolutely not.
Okay. And yeah, yeah. And we did carve out the repair option, what the cost would be. I assume we could put that back if we feel we need to know that number. That,
Just to rerun that scope of work?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we wanted to know, all right, how much more is it to repair versus replace?
Yes, that certainly could be something that we could go back and perform.
We could pick up pretty much where we left off and continue to the 30% range and provide that estimate as we were originally scoped for. Yeah, that'd be a tighter estimate. Okay.
So as far as 30%, what if you come back with a 30% number, what can we do with that?
The 30%, so you've got a design process, and typically your preliminary design, very, very rough, is going to be 15%. You're not really going to have a good handle on your final design until we have the in-water testing done, till we validated the material that was out there, either have some records that the town may have, or we would possibly do some non-destructive testing to figure out how good of timber, how good of pilings they actually are. Because we're not going to make a design based on something we don't feel comfortable with from a professional engineering perspective. So the 30% design should give you a good ballpark as to what you'd be looking at. There's a plus or minus there, just like there is on a new estimate. But given the scenario out there in the water right now, on the ground in the water, the condition of the piles, condition of the timber, the superstructure and the substructure, we would really need to know a little bit more than we know now to provide that kind of number. And so getting us to a 30% plan, it would incorporate those tests, and it would incorporate us, based on those tests, we would know what we'd have to do. To an extent, we would know what we would have to do as far as the structure above the ground, as well as the piles, how many piles would have to be replaced, how they would have to be replaced. We would know that we could probably provide a much better estimate than we could before that. Now, that being said, there's a significant difference between going to a 30% and a 65 to 80% design, where you really know what you have, and it's just based on your design is basically done. It's just based on any final tweaks that the town may want. We might come in here and present you a plan that might have the rails doing this and the deck looking like a certain thing, and you might want us to make an adjustment at that point, but it's not going to be a significant number.
It's just me thinking, I don't know that a 30% plan gets us to where we can make a decision.
The 30%, so the 30% plan originally, you're right, you're not gonna make a perfect decision on, to go or not go. But the original scope was, we were gonna come up with a 30% design for a new pier, and then look at the existing pier, and a repair, come up with basically the same level of knowledge. So you would be able to say, one is gonna cost roughly so much, and the other one's gonna cost roughly so much. One is gonna last so many years, this one's gonna last so many years, and you would have at least something to go by. And then channel, then basically pick one and go down that route.
When I think that's where I'm at, because if it was up to me, I would say, let's go build a concrete pier 1,000 feet out and be done with it. I know Will, just thank the Lord. He didn't think I'd say that. If I had my wish. But, you know, this is not a genie bottle. We've got set numbers that we've got to deal with. So the people that elected me in this most recent election, as Tom said, some things have changed since you guys were here last. And there's unequivocally, if I said that right, a desire for a fishing pier out there. Now, if we could do it on air, I'd be supportive of that, but I don't think that's feasible. So whether it's wood, whether it's concrete, whatever, the people that elected me want to fish, or at least provide a fishing amenity to the people that visit this island. It's part of their heritage, part of the culture, it's part of the economic makeup of this community. So what I think I need to see is, what is it going to cost to repair? Not 25%, not 30%. I want to know, I want to be able to send it out to bid to get a repair, and I want to be able to send it out to bid to build a new one. And I want to compare those two numbers. So however you guys can work through your engineering feat and the processes that the town needs to do that, that's at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for, is those two numbers. What does it cost to repair, to open it, to have people walk on it, and then to build a new one and have people walk on it?
So, and we could certainly provide that, but again, we would basically have to take the original scope, and instead of stopping at 30%, giving you this number, carry it on to something that you would actually be able to make a pretty good assessment of what you're going to do.
So you need to present a proposal to the town, right? Or, what it would cost to get you that?
If that's the ask, if that's the ask, we would do that. We could wrap the scope.
You wouldn't need a new contract, so to speak. It would just revise what you're already existing, or was the contract just 30% be done?
I believe that was the case. I believe it was to do that. And if the decision is made to go beyond that, I believe we would have to have another contract.
If the current contract is closed, we could provide a new scope of work without a contract. It would just be any actual work performed would need to be in the contract. We could provide a proposal.
Happy to provide that.
So, Christie, does that, let me ask one more question, Tom. Does that put us where it has to go back out to bid for qualifications if they got to have a new contract? Oh, you're over here.
False layers. The way I look at it, they're still the engineering director, but that's my understanding. But, and it would just be another, but I don't know. That would be,
We need to answer that question after we consult with legal.
Because I think that's kind of new information, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding of the process was, we went through a request for qualifications. They were selected as the most qualified, and then we entered into contractual.
But now that contract's done.
But they're still qualified.
Well, if we do new qualifications, that don't eliminate them. And I didn't know that was an issue, so I don't have a dog in that fight one way or the other.
I have a question. So when you said in February you came to the conclusion repair was not cost effective, we never got a value of what we thought. How did we reach that it was not cost effective? Because the year prior to that, we had some inspections done. We had another contract. We had a bid. And then we asked to change the scope of work to hit more of our budget line of 800,000 to a 1.2 million to repair. And we never were able to get that bid. We tried to get that bid just to give the public a idea of what a repair with a different scope of work would be, because the first one came in at 2 million. So then when we come in February 2025, we have a repair is not cost effective. But that wasn't based on what I think the 800,000 to 1.2 million was. So we go from a repair is not cost effective to building a brand new pier. I think it was 7.5 million. I don't know. I don't understand how that's more cost effective than a repair to get people on it. I'd love to. I don't think a wooden brand new pier is an option because it can't be insured. I think if we're going to do a brand new pier, I think it should be a concrete, but we've got to come up with the money, which could take 4 to 5 years, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. I'm not an engineer. But 2 years ago, at that time, our goal was to take a reasonable amount of money that was in the budget to just open it and get people on it. And people just want to walk on the pier. They want to fish on the pier. If we had 30 million, if we had 7.5 million, yeah, I don't think a wooden pier to stick out there and not insure is a smart thing to do. But this pier is sitting there. I mean, we didn't buy the property for the pier. We bought what we bought the property for. We're using. There's some revenue coming in. I still don't understand why all this was stopped, but I don't understand repair is not cost effective in February. And now we're sitting here talking about, it seems to me there was a whole rigmarole done to hope that this referendum failed to get rid of the pier. And let me finish.
I'm sorry.
The referendum, all the referendum says is we will not use taxpayer money or raise the taxes to repair this pier. It doesn't say anything about no pier whatsoever. So that's a misconception that we have. But I'm just confused as February 20th, we're sitting here 2 years ago to spend up to 1.2 million just to open it and get people on it. I wish we would have just made an ADA compliant ramp when we bought it and let people out on it. But we thought, hey, it probably needs a little bit of repair. It may fall into the ocean. If it's going to fall into the ocean from a storm, I would like to see people have been able to walk on it, fish on it, do something on it before it happens. It's sitting there for 65 years. I mean, I'm not against the brand new pier, but I think we owe it to get the what we have there now, if it's feasible to do, get it open. Sitting here arguing about it for 3 to 4 years, it's not ever going to get to the point where it can be. But I don't see why we couldn't open it, and then we can talk about if we can raise the money, build a new pier. You can build it right next to it. I'm not against a new pier, but I'm not against I'm against the 7.5 million. But I don't think it's unreliable for us to at least use what we've got there now, and not exhaust some funds.
I guess that was my question too, because I'm new to the board, but I sat in on the meetings when you talked about that and came back with that recommendation that it wasn't cost effective to repair it. What was that based on? I guess I'm like Dr. Dyer. I don't know what that was based on. Did you actually come up with numbers of what it would cost to repair it at that time to say that it's not cost effective?
So we didn't come up with hard numbers because we did curtail it, of course. The impetus behind that recommendation was that we strongly believe that you would still be paying a majority of the cost to do the repair as it would be for the new construction, and then you would significantly lose your maintenance cycle timeline because of the older parts that would still be inside of that pier. So it would just be that interplay between the upfront cost and then how much you're actually getting out of it in the long run.
An example of this, and if you read the report, the original repair report, it cited certain parts of the pier are fair condition, certain parts are in poor condition. I've been out on the pier. The railing is in very poor condition. It's actually cited in the report as a safety hazard. You pretty much are going to throw that out. The deck is in, the report said the deck was in fair condition. Fair is a subjective term. And if you want to look at the pilings the best timber pile, the best, longest, most durable in the saltwater environment pile is gonna have a expected or a maximum expected life cycle of 50 years, maximum. And that's not having significant storm impacts, or that's just sitting out there in roughly calm water.
In the north, the 50 years is
Yeah,
for New England.
Yeah, that's 50 years north where it's colder water. You've got some piles out there that are pretty old. Your newest pile's 20 years old. 25 years old, and we don't know exactly what those what that wood is. And, I'm not a wood engineer. I build highways and roads. But I will say that, if you don't know what the material is, you don't really want to put your name behind it unless you're pretty comfortable with what you're dealing with. And so if you look at the life cycle, you could spend a third as much on a repair. I'm just saying this, you could potentially spend a third as much on a repair as a new pier and get a significantly less, and not get a third as much time, life cycle. So there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of unknowns, and I think at the time we looked at it and we said, we can continue, but you need to think about this and say, is this, if you really want to go down the repair route, that's fine, go down the repair route. But if you want to stop now, this is an opportunity to save a pretty good amount of money, and it's our thoughts, just our initial testing, initial looking at it, that it would serve the town a longer term, better interest to consider the new pier. That being said, I think we've made it perfectly clear that we would entertain, or we would pursue the repair option if that's what the town wanted. And, we talked about concrete piers. We talked about a hybrid pier. There's a few of those around here where you've got concrete pilings and then you've got wood and deck and all that. And those are real nice, and those are cheaper than a full concrete pier. And then you've got a solid timber pier. You don't see a lot of solid timber piers being built 1,000 feet out. And if you think about it, tying 250 feet of new pier to the end of this pier without really making sure the end of this new pier is structurally sound, that would take some thought.
And if I may, I can provide just a couple examples of why the cost is expected to be so high. For one, the ramp section, needs to be ADA appropriate. I believe that needs to be a 12-to-1 slope. I think currently it's around a 10-to-1 slope. That whole ramp would have to be redone. The balcony section that's hanging off the side, that whole part is very, very, very critical condition. That whole part would need to be redone. The decking itself, one of the reasons why we had to go so high in that NTE amount was the actual construction methodology. And to your earlier question about the 30%, what could it get us? That's one of the hairy parts of this particular structure is the methodology, which usually gets decided around the 60% level design. There's so much of a disparity between how much a trestle would cost, basically building a metal pier next to the wooden pier to work off of, and then taking apart the metal pier versus going out and do it from a barge out in the water. But that has its own set of problems due to where Holden is at. So,
Or the feasibility of doing it.
So,
right, and if I'm going to finish really fast. So, and the reason that we, determined the top down was not a solution style was because of the loading. So, the pier structure was rated for certain loadings. A really good example of the situation we're facing here is that a pedestrian-only loading. So only people, not like a gator, for anything to get across, or any small vehicles, purely pedestrian loading for a 2x6 decking, which is what is out there, you need to have a 24-inch separation maximum. We measured it at 30-inch. So right now, that deck's technically not even up to code for a pedestrian-only walk. Now, we do understand that we have seen the video of the contractor back in 2000 who went out there and did that work. I mean, we fully understand that was done. But a very big issue that happened during that effort was the contractor himself stated that he did not know how deep he drove those piles. He just drove them as deep as he could, depending on what the water level allowed him. That's terrifying, to be quite honest, because you don't know what you're getting in that embedment depth to make sure you're at that structurally required amount of support.
Yeah, and that's really critical. If you start talking about taking that 750 out to 1,000 foot, you're in deeper water. You know, the deeper the water is, the more force you have on the structure due to the wave action. And so you really need to know how deep those piles are going. You don't drive a pile based on how deep the water is. You drive a pile based on the loading and the impact it's going to have. So you need to know that.
I looked at your engineering reports, and to be fair, I'm not an engineer, so I don't take this all with a grain of salt. And I think to your point, everything you looked at was the superstructure, handrails, decking, all that kind of stuff. Are you guys familiar that there was a report on the piles done back in 22?
We were, right? I think yes, ASTM.
Did y'all, in your review of that, did you find it credible, not credible, just outdated? What was the thought process?
One of the pieces of information that we picked up on was, I think they cited from the underwater inspection that was done at the time, that the tiles were green heart, and that's a type of wood.
Tropical hardwood.
It's a tropical hardwood, and it is probably the most durable hardwood for marine construction that's available.
It's the gold standard.
If it is indeed green heart. We don't have any documentation that it is green heart. We don't have any records that it is. And without testing it and knowing what it really is, without providing, some sort of a non-destructive or some sort of a destructive testing where you're taking a section of the wood and actually testing the qualities of it, you're not going to know 100% on that. I thought the report had some good points, and I thought it had some points that have some better clarity. And there's some, when you start saying fair, good, poor on your ratings, that's subjective. What I think is good, what I think is fair, is really got to be pretty safe. And if you've been out on that deck, I probably wouldn't want to put a tremendous crowd on that deck as it is right here, right now.
And I guess I think we're maybe a little bit into the weeds here. So at the end of the day, we still need a repair estimate. We still need a rebuild estimate. In that report, let me ask you this question. And I think this is answered before, but you guys built the Bogue Inlet Bridge, is that correct? Bonner, I'm sorry. Like if a tanker hits it, basically it's going to stand because y'all built it like super strong, correct?
We did that one. We've done a tremendous amount of bridges. We did an emergency repair bridge over in Southport, Moore Street Bridge. And Moore Street didn't actually have a bridge on it. It had a huge washout. And DOT called us up, and we had a new design out there in 30 days.
I think where we're at is this, and there's a lot of stuff that happened, but as far as just dealing with the engineer report, what we have of record in our file cabinet, so to speak, you have one that's got 19 piles that need to be replaced. 10 of them are over water, 9 are over land, and there's 104 piles total. And so we go from that to we can't give you a repair number because you got to do an underwater inspection. I get it. So with getting the repair number, would that fall, I guess technically that would fall under your existing contract, right? We wouldn't have to do a new one for that.
We were originally scoped for the repair estimate, and
That's what I think.
what could have happened if we went along and were providing information up to a certain point, and I guess the contract could have been amended to continue on to 55% range or all the way up to final.
So that's what we need to find out, whether we can amend the existing contract, but to get the repair number, that's in the contract, right?
It was removed when we curtailed that option. The new scope of work completely removed that.
You got a new issue of scope of work
Yes, sir.
from the town?
We didn't go back to the contract.
And a new contract is done.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I would be
I think
on the side of we would need to.
we probably need to verify that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think,
I think we would need to verify it. I think you all would need to verify it.
yeah, I think,
I think the intent of the previous board at the budget time last year, when the budget was passed, and while you still have remaining funds in 441 professional services, was that they intended to take it to 60% was what was discussed, from 30 to 60. However, when it came time that a report came due and then the referendum was going to happen, the board chose to stop at the moving towards the 60%. So you do have some professional services money left. The question becomes, are you changing the scope of work that would be required for what you're asking for right now? And is there a new contract that will need to be? Are you moving outside what has been scoped is the question that needs to be asked of legal.
and it's my understanding, this is what I think that the original contract was to provide a repair, and and I thought 60%. If that's the original deal and we could keep it the same, then I would make a motion that they come back with a repair number and a rebuild number.
Well, I think first they're gonna have to come back with you what it's gonna
Yeah.
cost for them to get you that number.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. No, I get you.
We can definitely pull a proposal together.
Can they pull a proposal together without us voting on it today? No.
Not if they want to be paid.
What will it cost for us to get a cost to do the proposal? I'm just kidding. I mean, if we could make the leap to get the repair estimate, construction documents to rebuild documents, so we could look at apples to apples, that's how I would craft a motion today, but it don't sound like we can get there today.
So the money's in the budget currently to go to the 60%, but the board opted not to go forward with it? Is that what you're
When
saying?
the
Christie?
referendum was being considered, the board decided to stop moving towards the 60% and not expend any more taxpayer funding until
Not
the
whole
result
board.
of the referendum. So you still have professional services money, and I prefer not to tell you what that amount is in this workshop because you have your potential
Right,
vendor standing
right,
right there that's got to
right.
give you a budget number.
Well, I guess my issues with cost effective is we've gone way beyond cost effective. Just we started with one company, we went with another company. It's just like it was almost like you guys were made the scapegoat to say, here's this pie in the sky thing. It's not cost effective to repair, but let's build a $7 million pier that we don't have the money for. It wasn't even in the budget. We had money budgeted for a repair. We bought that land for other reasons, and we thought, hey, while there's a pier already on it, if we don't have to spend a lot, we can repair it, at least get it open until we decide what we want to do. If we want to go and build a brand new pier, that's fine. But that repair option was stopped, not cost effective. I don't understand how, when you have money in a budget to do a repair, how it's cost effective to go and build a $7.5 million pier that's wood is not as strong as the wood that's there now. Technically, because they don't make the wood the same way. And now we've spent money on one engineer company to say, oh yeah, we can repair it. Let's just get a bid on it. We've spent money on another company. Now we're rolling back around to saying, I don't know. It's frustrating, completely frustrating.
Well, we're past that at this point, so we need to like,
Yeah.
I told you 4 years ago, they started.
Yeah.
It's what we're in there 4 years ago.
Let us come back.
And then you elect the people that want to be.
We'll answer those questions that way. Thank you. We'll let y'all, we'll be in more discussions with y'all, figure that, because now there's two different things also. I'm getting ready to bring in something else, which is pretty much saying the same thing that they were, looking at files. And, you know, you want me to, do you feel the bus? What? Well, talking with Tim, we understand that no matter if there's a repair option, the piles are going to be, we're going to need to have that study. I mean, we understand that.
Well, that's, I think it's a big misconception when you look at that pier, when you look at those piles, and they're still out there, and we hear the comments made about life expectancy of piles. And there's also a big misconception about things like ADA ramps and the cost of how much that's gonna cost when it comes to a pier. The minimum amount of cost to build any pier out there, if it's wood, is gonna be from the dry sand to the wet water. So anything in that area is not gonna be an extremely high cost. It don't get high expensive till you get out. So when you throw that in there, like that's some kind of expensive amount, it's not. That's gonna be the least most expensive part. And the reason that the public has such a concept, a hard time, some of them, with the piles, is because Greenheart wood has a life expectancy higher than 50. Greenheart wood typically has a life expectancy between 75 and 100. So what we have is some of those piles out there, if they are that, which we don't know, look better than we're being expected to believe they are. And so without the actual testing of the piles, without us actually knowing what's there, I think the town is risking too much. Now, once you find that information out, I think you can better make a decision about whether you can repair or not. But I wouldn't let comments about how much it's going to cost you to rebuild the part that's on dry sand be a deterrent for building or repairing that pier. The biggest part of that, the cost of that is going to be the part underwater. It's going to be driving the piles, and it's going to be the part working inward. But any construction company worth their salt is going to consider the fact that they're building from dry land to the low water mark. And then they're building from the high water mark out. So there's a great bit more when you look at it, depending on the time of the day, that you're building from dry land. So I think that and this is what we need in our department over there, is we need the pile information. We need the foundation information. And then I can better help maybe with a decision or something else. But if it comes back bad, I'm going to tell you what you're going to be doing out there, because it's my responsibility. But we got to know that. We got to know. But I just want to clear some of that up. We really need to get off of the trying to determine what cost estimates are when we're really at a Category 3 estimate, construction estimates. We really need to get further in, and you can't do that without file. So 30%, we've got an over and under margin that's pretty good, pretty high. It could be real lower than that, or it could be much higher. If we do the pile research, even if you go in the other way, I mean, the soil and the pile, then we're going to have a better idea how to get you closer to a decision between what you can build or what you can repair. So, is that my 2 cents?
So basically, we have 38 piles. We need to figure out what condition they're in.
You need to figure out all of them.
Well, the rest of them are on dry land is what I'm saying. There's only 38 underwater.
If you're going to take into account, you're going to change the one on dry land, which I would, if you're going to actually try to take on some kind of top down, definitely need to start on land and rebuild all of that.
So can we do the underwater inspection as part of your current contract?
I'm pretty confident the current contract's been closed out.
Okay, I just want to make sure we dotted that one last time. Okay. So there's no motion that we need to make today.
No.
There's no actionable thing we can do today.
And we,
We tried
none of
though.
from the previous things that were done can be used.
So when the underwater inspection was done before, they weren't, I mean, I guess it wasn't the in depth as what you need.
They gave me, when the engineer sealed that thing and said, this is what you need to do to repair it, I don't have any choice under statutory rule, and neither does the town by law. They release us from liability of me getting it wrong. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to go, if you want to call them and ask them if that plan's still good, then you can go out there and start repairing if they want to release it. You understand what I'm saying? I can't. I couldn't deny it.
Well, I was just asking, were they able to, so they identified, you said that they were the,
I don't know.
19.
Yeah, it may be
but we don't
19.
know what shape they're in now.
Yeah, because I don't sit around and study plans that we kicked over in the corner.
But in either,
Look at it.
in either case, I think Sylvia, to your point, even if we went back and pulled that engineer report out and said, let's build from this, I don't,
Need a new
from what I'm
report.
hearing Tim may be saying, you don't let me speak for you, but that's 4 years old. So
We need a new
You
underwater
gotta
study.
Go back to his plan, that plan was more than just a repair, it takes on the ADA stuff.
Right.
But it doesn't take on
piles.
those portions from dry land, not in detail. If you,
I
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
well,
Give me the microphone.
if y'all can't hear me. Oh,
We got people trying to listen.
I got you. If we're, how can I say this? I mean, we're talking about cost estimates and which is more viable and what, which is which. I guess and I don't, the terminology I keep hearing, I'm wondering how much more has it costed us every year that we haven't done something? Because it's not rebuilding itself out there.
That's true.
And when you tack on to that, the cost of new construction, as much as it goes up every year, I would venture to say, if you compared it to, say, our lift stations, we've probably doubled the price of what we could actually have done by now. So, it might be time to make a decision one way or the other, but you got to get the right information.
Right.
And in whatever you do, I wouldn't, if you decide to rebuild what you got, you ought to be thinking right off the top of your head that everything from the dry sand to the water needs to be replaced. Right off the top of your head. And then, so you're really, like you said, you're really only investigating what's in the water. You know what I mean? For the most part, the rest of it's going to be replaced. That's for sure. And then, of course, the guardrails has got to be replaced. You know what I mean? What you're really going to end up with is piles. If you're going to start with what you got.
And I don't want to interject any more information than we need right here, but just to go back and put a pin in the public-private partnership proposal, in that print, he included the deck on the dry ground, the pier on the dry ground.
Well, once again, there's such a beautiful opportunity here. What you have out there is the only thing that you can have where you can have a building seaward of the town's Camadoo. So if you're going to rebuild this thing or if you're going to repair it, please consider the fact of what a wonderful thing you could have out there and what it may be, other than just a pier. I mean, you can repair it, and that doesn't mean you can't come along later and do what I just said. But just think about that. Just, you could spend, here I go talking, I probably shouldn't, but you could spend $10 million on a concrete pier. Or you could go down to Nag's Head and look at what they got. They got an aquarium out there. Where you spend your money, you want to talk about, you're going to have just a pier that you can walk on, or you're going to have something where the people actually that pay to park there have somewhere to go and do. And you got the opportunity here, and it's not as expensive as $10 million. but you ain't gonna do anything in that pier. I can't issue you a permit until some qualified engineer tells me what we got down there for me to permit.
Well, I think until we know what the repair number is, we can't really make an educated decision that repair is better than rebuild. And to Tim's point, I was at Pier, I think it's Second Avenue or Third Ave, whatever it is down in Myrtle Beach. And I'm not proposing that we do sky wheels and all that stuff here. But as far as the pier goes, they have a very nice restaurant over the water. I went to Nag's Head. Their entire aquarium, for the big bathtub that it is over the water. It's all down, and I don't even know if that may get us outside of some restrictions as far as what the land grant would be if you're out over the water. I don't know if that changes stuff. But there's an opportunity for us to do something pretty special here. And Holden Beach is a very special place, and we can make it cement, for lack of a better term, we could cement that with this decision. So, I mean, I understand that there are people that don't want to pier here. And I hear all 179 of you. I'm done.
Anybody else got a comment, question? Tom, Julie, Doc?
Well, did we ever find out for sure from our funding agency whether or not we could do a public-private partnership?
There was, I believe, a commissioner that was a previous commissioner that was asking some questions at the time that they were seated, and came up with some ideas, but I don't know that the staff has been tasked with taking that up.
We tried.
They would have to see what the response that we got initially is that we would have to see what the actual proposal was, and no proposal was ever discussed by the board.
Right.
That's because it was removed from the agenda twice.
So,
And the proposal.
So we'd have to have a plan to present to them.
Yeah,
to see if
they
would.
won't just speculate of,
we're,
yes, this meets criteria, or no, it won't meet criteria unless you have something to show them, because then you could change 3 things around and all of a sudden you're out of compliance, but you told them you were going to do X.
yeah. We're too premature to request for proposals, basically. We don't even know how the piles look.
So it seems like that's the first step we got to do is do the underwater study.
Yeah. Is it now? Let me ask you this: is there's money for engineering, and if it points out that their contract is completed, or whether it's not, whatever the case is, can we direct town staff to whoever's going to do it, go ahead and get the underwater pile inspection done, since we got to have that as the next step, instead of us having to wait till we come back to another meeting, another meeting, another meeting?
They gotta look at the contract. And
Yeah, they gotta look at it.
Okay.
that'll have to be agenda.
Okay.
And then we can also investigate, because we had actually already talked about a company, to utilize for that. Study.
Well, I think that's what we need to do. Figure out how we're gonna do that.
Okay. And you don't need any direction for us to do that. Perfect.
If I may add one more thing, ma'am, to your concern about us being the fall for getting the bond to be not passed, I just want to say we fully stand by everything that we did previously, and we
No,
would not
I
be
wasn't
swayed
proposing
in
for the referendum.
any sort of, conclusion, or our engineering assessment would not be swayed one way or the other. We're going to deliver what we believe to be the correct answer. So just back and restore some confidence.
I'd like to add one more thing, regarding the underwater test that was done previously. That was a few years ago. There's been, further deterioration. Nothing gets better over time out there. We all know that. So, and it wasn't done under our purview, and our structural engineer wasn't guiding it, which is what we would like to have this time. He's going to put his seal on it. he puts his seal on it, that takes your, get done, it's all to
Right.
some of that. So, the other part of it is, to the point, when you consider, when you do a repair option, and if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but if you do a repair option, you are looking at ground to water. Ideally, it would be redone, and then everything beyond from 750 to 1,000 is new construction in deeper water. So you've got a good piece of this that is new construction regardless of how you look at it.
Right.
So, but anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You got anything else, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Does that conclude our agenda?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, you got anything you want to say or do before we consider a motion for adjournment? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Thank you all for being here. We're adjourned.